work and spend the weekend with. So my mother's family was huge. My father had nobody here, so all these people were my mother's relatives, cousins, and so forth. They were cousins, great uncles, and stuff like that. So we went out there, and there were a bunch of us out there. I mean, we had a whole community of family out there at Coney Island. We all lived within about a 3 or 4 block area.
And most of them were from Brooklyn.
Most of them were from Brooklyn. Some of them were like us from the Bronx. There were some from Manhattan. So there was one girl there who was my age. She was about a year younger than me. I was about 10 or 11, 12, something like that. And so I decided, I hadn't seen her.
Wait, can I just say,
Yeah.
she was the first, her mother, this is Diane, her mother
Fanny.
was the first cousin of his mother. So they were first cousins, right?
But they were also best friends.
And they were also best friends. So Grandma Daisy, our grandmother, her.
I thought we didn't have any family.
No, that was on Grandpa's side. On the Irving side, we didn't have
The
any.
mother's
The
family
ton
was
on
huge.
Grandma
Huge.
Daisy's side. So Grandma Daisy.
Why aren't we in touch with any of them then?
Well, we are now. Grandma Daisy
Yeah.
and Diane, Diane's mother, who was named Fanny, were best friends and first cousins. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so we called
My
her-
great grandparent
we
was named
called her
Fanny.
Aunt Fanny. We
No,
didn't,
Daisy.
we didn't call her.
Okay.
Her cousin was Fanny.
You just
We called her Aunt Fanny because she was so close, you know. So when we went out to the Coney Island thing, her daughter was named Diane, was about a year younger than me. So even though she was a girl,
She's pretty cool.
we got to know each other pretty well, you know. And I hadn't seen her but one time, which I forgot about, which was at my mother's funeral.
Oh.
So, but I was curious about her. I spoke to her on the phone one time because I used to subscribe to the Sunday Times,
Yeah.
and I saw her mother's obituary in the Sunday Times, and I called her. So this was in 1999. And I was going to follow up and see her when I went to New York, but I never did. Then I lost her number. So, what's it?
Fanny?
No, who?
Diane?
Oh, Sharon found her through the computer.
Yes, Sharon and Seth did it.
They got her.
Oh, no way. They tracked her down?
Yeah.
They tracked her down through the computer, which I could not have done. So when we went to New York about a month or two ago, I called her and she came and met me
Oh my gosh.
at
wow.
Sharon's house with her husband, who I'd never met. Her
Wow.
husband is in his 90s,
Wow.
and she's about a year younger. As I
Oh
said.
my gosh, that's wild.
So
And she
we
lives in
spent
New
the
York?
night
She still lives
together.
there?
And this, I forgot that this is crazy. It shows you how screwed up I am. But I lived in Memphis, you know, and when I lived there, I lived with a family, a Jewish family, who took me in like I was a member of the family. I mean, you could not tell I wasn't a member of their family.
You
I
talking
ate-
about Bernie?
Bernie, yeah.
Bernie-
Right, from Memphis.
Yeah, you know Bernie.
Yeah, we know Bernie.
Oh, wait, how did we get
But-
from Diane to Bernie?
He's backing up a little bit.
I don't know how we did that. But Bernie, and
During
his-
the time that there was
I
he was
lived
living
with
in Memphis.
Bernie, and I lived with his brother-in-law and sister, and I went every Friday night. We had dinner at their parents' house on 1716 Saxon Avenue in Memphis.
Which is right by the Sears Tower, is that correct?
That's at the old. Well, when I lived at 510 North Claybrook, I was right behind the old Sears store, which was a huge
Yeah,
store.
they've totally redone it. They brought it
You're
back
getting
to life.
way off now.
Yeah,
It's like-
sorry. But I thought you'd find that interesting because you used to work in there.
I did work
yeah.
there. How'd
yeah.
you know
yeah,
that?
I remember you telling us. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked
Yeah.
there for one Christmas.
You can feel the history in that building, and now they're making it into like a whole neighborhood, like a vertical.
It's a monstrous,
Yeah.
but it was a
Yeah.
warehouse
And they're
and
bringing
a
it all
store
back to
and a
life.
Sears
Yeah.
store. So it was on Crosstown.
Yeah, crosstown. That's what they're calling it.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
where it was.
Yeah.
But we lived right near it on 510 North Claybrook. Probably doesn't even exist anymore. so I lived with this family, you know, and I forgot where I was going with this.
You really did have your,
Diane, you're talking about Diane.
Oh yeah.
and
So we're having dinner at their folks' house every Friday night, and we'd been doing this for years. I mean, every Friday night they'd invite me for dinner.
Right, tradition.
So the old man used to get drunk every Friday night, and he's
lady guy.
later. He called me late again, and so he's
Tell her what
talking.
that means. She doesn't
Yeah, what does
Ladies
that mean?
man.
Yeah,
Oh, ladies man?
yeah.
understand some.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be
Oh,
drunk. He'd be
town.
sitting at the
Probably was
table.
ladies.
This
We
isn't
had-
Bernie. Is this Bernie's dad?
Bernie's dad.
Okay.
And he'd be drunk and he could hardly talk, but he'd sit at the,
Is that Bernie's
hey.
dad or Bernie's
He'd be-
father-in-law?
It's Bernie's father-in-law.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And,
What's their last name? Do you know?
yeah, Getson.
Getson.
He had a factory on 2nd Street, 160 South 2nd Street in Memphis, right about a block from Beale Street. Block from Beale Street.
Nice.
Right between
Yeah.
Beale Street and the Peabody.
Okay. Yeah.
And he made hats and caps. He's one of the best hat makers, cap makers, probably the best that ever lived.
So that was their
this guy.
family's.
And he had a factory
Right.
there. Bernie worked there.
Wow.
Bernie worked for his father. So I don't know how it happened, but you know, after years of eating with him and talking and schmoozing, he would talk about the days when he came to the United States, and turns out, and I mean, these people took me in and was like a member of their family. Turns out when he first came to the United States, like the 2nd decade of the century, he was a greenhorn, you know, from Europe, couldn't get a job. Place was flooded with people like him. He went to see this guy who, you know, didn't want to give him a job. He couldn't even speak English. He says, and Mr. Getson said, I'm the best hat maker you ever met. He says, you give me a job, you won't be sorry. In Yiddish, I mean, 'cause he didn't even speak
Was
English.
this in New York?
This is in New York.
Yeah. Okay.
That guy was my great uncle.
Oh no way!
Isn't that
That's
unbelievable?
crazy.
Can you imagine? And he gave
so
him a
your
job.
great uncle gave him a job. Which
He
got
gave him a
started as
job,
hat
his
maker.
first job in the
Wow.
United States,
Wow.
in this factory. And it was Diane's, this girl, my cousin's, I think it was her uncle, her great uncle. I think it was her uncle. Her
Wow.
uncle gave Mr. Getson his first job. I forgot to talk to her about that. So I got to call her and talk to her about that. And now she's in touch with Sharon. Sharon and her says we had dinner
I
together in
can't
Brooklyn.
believe how cool she is. I mean, she's
She really is.
coolest
Do you have a
woman
picture?
ever.
She's the same now as she was when she was a
She's gonna be
kid.
like my new Lydia. I swear, she's the best. I
She was
super
just
love
like
her.
that when she was a kid. Her mother was
We've been in touch the
unbelievable.
whole time, ever since she left. She's mine now. She lives in Brooklyn. She's mine.
Oh wow. Oh that's.
Oh my God, she's
Well,
so
anyway,
cool. And her
isn't that
husband.
unbelievable? I mean,
I can picture him though.
my great uncle gave him his first job in America.
That is pretty wild, yeah. Wow, and then
I
you
mean, there were
ended up-
millions of
and
Jews
you
in New
ended up-
York.
Yeah, and you
Huh?
ended up like they took you in.
And they took
Wow,
me in.
yeah.
They took me in.
And Memphis and New York was not a typical combo.
No,
Yeah.
he was a character, Mr. Getson. He was. If you met him, you'd never
So he
forget
left New
him.
York to go to Memphis to start his own hat making company.
Huh?
So he left New York.
I don't know how
and
he
how
wound
get
up
to
in Memphis.
Yeah,
I never
mean, that's sort of unusual,
spoke to him
too.
about that, but he went down there. He opened up his this factory in downtown Memphis, about a block or half a block from Beale Street,
Yeah.
and he prospered there. He opened it up with his brother, but he and his brother
At odds.
they split up. And his brother had a hat factory in Memphis. And they both, but they
Demand
didn't
for hats
talk to.
back then.
They didn't talk. In all the years I lived, there, I never
Everybody has
met.
a
I
hat.
never met the guy.
Yeah.
They were. It was like a feud between them.
What was his name?
I don't know.